This Week with Bob Mueller on News 2.
This week,
Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
the Democratic ticket is set. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is Kamala Harris's choice for a running mate.
It's not entirely clear what exactly is going on, what exactly they're looking for.
More legal questions for Tennessee Republican Congressman Andy Ogles as his phone is confiscated by the FBI.
You're not going to be in stop and go traffic. That's the whole point of this.
TDOT calls them choice lanes. You pay to use them. And the first are slated for I-24 from Nashville to Murfreesboro.
The Tennessee Firearms Association and the Tennessee Star have filed a notice of appeal.
Another challenge over the future of the Covenant school shooters' writings. More in our This Week cover story. And a conversation with Wade Mundy, a delegate to the Democratic Convention, as he prepares for a trip to Chicago and a whole new Democratic ticket. Hello again and welcome to another edition of This Week. It is not the presidential ticket Democrats started with. We will speak with Tennessee Democratic Delegate Wade Mundy preparing for next week's convention in Chicago. Another challenge to make the Covenant school shooters' writings public. Planned Parenthood of Tennessee has a plan to get more pro-choice legislators elected here in Tennessee. More in our This Week cover story. But we begin with the seizing of Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles' phone by the FBI.
The day after celebrating his primary election win, Congressman Andy Ogles says he got a visit from the FBI. Posting on social media, in part, it's been widely reported for months that my campaign made mistakes in our initial financial filings. Last Friday, the FBI took possession of my cell phone. It's my understanding that they are investigating the same well-known facts surrounding these filings. I'm confident all involved will conclude that the reporting discrepancies were based on honest mistakes and nothing more. According to a letter from the Campaign Legal Center to the Office of Congressional Ethics, in 2022, Ogles reported he made a $320,000 personal loan to his campaign, more money than Ogles disclosed he had. He later amended the filing to say he only loaned his campaign $20,000. Danielle Caputo co-wrote the letter calling for an ethics investigation. It's unclear if the letter and seizure are connected, and the FBI and DOJ won't confirm or deny anything.
That's a pretty large discrepancy. We're not entirely sure how that came about.
According to the AP, Ogles said the $320,000 was actually a pledge to his campaign that ended up in the campaign reports by mistake.
Voters have a right to know what holdings and what other conflicts of interest their representative may have. And by trying to hide that or obfuscate that, it really begs the question of, who may you be beholden to?
She says executing a search on a sitting congressman isn't extremely rare, but also isn't taken lightly.
It's not entirely clear what exactly is going on, what exactly they're looking for, but whatever it is, it seems that the FBI believes and a judge agrees that there's a good chance they'll find evidence of that on his cell phone.
The group's complaint also said Ogles didn't report a $70,000 line of credit he opened in 2022. Ogles' attorney didn't respond to a request for comment.
In a move to curb violent crime, a new pilot program could require repeat offenders to be tracked via GPS, with the hope of expanding it statewide. State Capitol reporter Tori Gessner explains the potential impact.
State Representative G.A. Hardaway calls them community terrorists.
These are the same folk who are out on bond and are repeat offenders while they're waiting on the first case to be adjudicated and resolved. That's crazy.
According to the Memphis police chief, 40% of arrests in that city alone are repeat offenders, wreaking havoc on innocent victims again and again.
Why aren't we more serious about protecting individuals, not just the deterrent factor, but protecting individuals after the crime?
Cue Representative Hardaway's idea to track violent criminals with a GPS monitor. It's an expansion of a state law passed last session, which he helped sponsor, mandating certain domestic violence offenders wear GPS tracking devices while out on bond. Hardaway is working to launch a pilot program in Memphis, extending that to all violent repeat offenders. Then he'll present that data to Tennessee lawmakers in hopes of passing legislation statewide.
We're past the time to where we're locking ourselves up in our homes and the criminals run free. That's crazy. And this is something that will have immediate impact.
That includes discouraging gang activity and bringing down the crime rate, which in turn boosts the economy by attracting business to the state, according to Hardaway. The ultimate hope, though, is to save lives.
It'll give us valuable data on how to build a better mousetrap and to keep Memphis, to keep Tennessee safer than they were before.
Reporting in Nashville, I'm Tori Gessner.
The writings of the Covenant School shooter are to be kept private. That is the ruling of a judge. Now that ruling is being appealed. Here's News 2's Caitlin Quisenberry.
March 27th, 2023. Audrey Hale killed 3 children and 3 adults at the Covenant School. Following the shooting, Metro Police collected what they initially described as a manifesto from the shooter. Covenant families fought to keep the writings private, and a judge agreed, in part because the shooter's family gave the copyright for the writings to the victims' families. Now there's an appeal.
The Tennessee Firearms Association and the Tennessee Star have filed a notice of appeal to the Court of Appeals, which the deadline for that was today.
It's unclear what either group's argument for the appeal is, but Deborah Fisher with the Tennessee Coalition for Open Government says she believes they will argue against the judge's July decision to have the Covenant writings protected by copyright laws and a school security exemption to the public records law.
The problem with that particular assessment by the judge is that she didn't go in and specify this in the writings would inspire a copycat killing. This in the writings would not. She just basically left it open. It's possible that some things in the writings would be helpful in understanding, kind of what led up to the shooting.
She tells me it could take months to a year before any oral arguments occur before the Court of Appeals, but adds we could see documents related to Metro Police's ongoing investigation before the Covenant writings are released.
And there are hundreds of records that should be available about this shooting, and things like, did the shooter tell anyone?
Fisher says originally Metro Police said they would be concluded with their investigation in June this year. Now, according to police, the investigation is still ongoing, with no anticipated plans to charge anyone else. A representative with police tells me they are, quote, working quickly to complete it at this point. In Nashville, Caitlin Quisenberry, News 2.
TDOT calls them choice lanes, others toll roads. The first are slated for I-24 between Nashville and Murfreesboro. News 2's Adam Mincer with details.
On Tennessee highways, a smooth and quick ride is not guaranteed. TDOT hopes on Tennessee highways, a smooth and quick ride is not guaranteed. TDOT hopes so-called choice lanes can offer riders a more predictable commute at a price.
If you're going to choose to spend your hard-earned money on these choice lanes to get you somewhere quicker, to make sure you can rely on a trip time, we want to make sure that the choice lanes are flowing.
Used in Virginia, Florida, and being developed in Georgia, these toll lanes allow drivers to pay to get to their destination faster on less congested roads. TDOT says in Tennessee, they'll also have minimum speed limits, most likely somewhere between 45 and 55 miles per hour.
You're not going to be in stop and go traffic. That's the whole point of this.
But while there will be no cost for public buses or TDOT officials to use these lanes, for the rest of us, the price will fluctuate with demand.
The operator will manage that, but that will be set and determined by our TMA board, who will, they'll take all the data and information we give them, and then they can make that decision.
However, TDOT wants to make sure whichever company partners with them to construct these lanes gets a good deal.
TDOT's total working budget is about $1.2 billion. A project of this size is roughly $2 billion.
With no private contractor selected yet, no specifics are set. But this is where TDOT is thinking about putting the entrances and exits to these lanes. But that and other topics will be discussed at community meetings starting next week.
This is the largest and most complex project that the state will ever deliver up to this point.
Now to our This Week cover story. Tennessee has one of the strictest abortion laws in the U.S. With fall elections on the horizon, Planned Parenthood is launching a new campaign aimed at influencing legislators and reshaping policy. News 2's Maya Owen shows us how the organization says voters are the key, following a legislative session where abortion took center stage.
It's going to take new tactics to restore balance in the state of Tennessee. We have to flip some seats.
Today, Planned Parenthood launching a campaign to vote out who they're calling anti-abortion state legislatures this fall.
Stopping the supermajority in Tennessee is not going to be easy. We have a plan this year to flip 4 seats and 3 after that. So we break the supermajority before redistricting in 2030.
The General Assembly has long been a Republican majority. In both the Senate and the House, Republicans far outnumber their counterparts. But Planned Parenthood believes flipping just a few of those seats would make a difference, relying on voters to help make that change.
Tennessee is not an anti-abortion state. We are a non-voting state. We were 50th in voter turnout in the 2022 election, but the good news is the only place we have to go from there is up.
Just last month, a new law took effect, making it illegal for a Tennessee adult to help a minor cross state lines to receive an abortion. Tennessee, now the second state in the nation to have this law on the books.
This bill just protects the parent's right to make a determination about an underage pregnancy.
Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Tennessee joins more than 20 states who have banned or restricted abortion access.
Tennessee has a total ban on abortion with meager exceptions. The Republican supermajority is totally opposed to reproductive freedom.
According to an abortion rights group who began tracking interstate travel for abortions, more than 10,000 Tennesseans crossed state lines to obtain one last year, going to states including Illinois, North Carolina, and even as far as California.
Tennesseans support reproductive justice. However, the representatives that have been elected in some of these seats are not voting the will of the people.
Maya Owens, News 2.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.